All right, everybody say it with me. It takes all kind of critters to make Farmer Vincent's fritters. Let's get into talking about the 4K release of Motel Hell. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris. Thanks for stopping by and watching my 4K review for Motel Hell. Now, most of you may be saying, Chris, this came out like 5 months ago. And you would be right. And so I didn't want to do like a full-on review for this movie because I've got a lot of other stuff that's stewing in the pot and I didn't want to kind of put a wrench in that, but I also didn't want to forget about it. But I did recently pick this up from the Amazon Screen Factory sale they've got going on that randomly happened, which is kind of a better sale, I think, than Screen Factory's own sale, if I do say so for myself. I didn't pick up anything from that, but this was like, okay, this stuff is like 20 bucks for these movies. So I picked up a couple things, and so I really wanted to talk about Motel Hell because I really love this movie a lot, and I was happy to revisit it, especially in 4K. So I want to talk about the video, the audio, kind of the packaging, and what I think about the movie at the very end. Obviously, I do like the movie, but I want to talk about some of the things that I really like about the movie. So let's get into this packaging, and then we'll get into the audio and the video. So very simplistic packaging here. That's the one thing I will say is kind of an issue for me, like with these re-releases on 4K. At least it has a slipcover, but other than that, pretty bare bones. It does have a reversible art, but it's so similar. Like, it's so similar to the other one. It just has blood on the O, and that's it. So not very appealing. It was one of those things that I was kind of hesitant to pick up initially because I was like, well, doesn't seem like they're doing a lot with this. How good can it look? I mean, I like the Blu-ray version, and so it just kind of fell off of the burner for me as new stuff took its place. Obviously, especially in October, so many things came out that it's kind of been buried. And so the sale, when I was kind of looking through, it was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot the Motel Hell came back out in like May on 4K. And I didn't really hear a lot of people talking about it. So it was like, maybe it's not that great. But I'm here to tell you that it is great. And in fact, it's incredible. This is actually a fantastic restoration of Motel Hell. And I was actually kind of shocked. Now I shouldn't be, because like the likes of like Pumpkinhead, which just recently came out, which looked amazing. I should not question Screen Factory's like restoration process. Some of their packaging and some of the other stuff they do can be questionable. But I think we all can kind of reaffirm that most of their work, 90% of the work they do, is pretty fantastic overall, even though it's pretty bare bones as maybe audio or special features are concerned when we're getting these 4K upgrades, other than a select few big titles that get like the star treatment. But overall, solid video release. So I do want to kind of show this off. I mean, I'm sure most people have seen this. I do also have the Steelbook version of Motel Hell, which is great. Meat's meat, and man's gotta eat, you know what I'm saying? So let's put this back over here. But overall, the audio is a DTS 2.0 mono track, and it sounds really good, actually. Anyway, I like all of that. All the special features are ported over from this version. So as a recommendation of should you pick this up, it gets increasingly harder for me to kind of judge what people want and don't want out of these releases. And I can see the frustration with Screen Factory just kind of putting some of their stuff out in 4K. Vinegar Syndrome has started to do this, but not at the increasing rate that Screen Factory is doing it. I know like Massage Parlor Murders came out, and I was like, oh, I had actually just gotten the Blu-ray, and then the 4K C movie came out, and I was like, oh man, that was just one time that I personally got burned, but it's not a movie by any means. It was one of their very early catalog stuff, whereas this stuff is like recent stuff that we're getting just kind of put back in 4K. So it's a weird thing for me, and you'll have to decide if it's something that you want to kind of double dip in. For me, again, this was perfect because it was on sale. I think it was like $20 for me to get this. So for me personally, it was like, okay, I will dive in and get this and kind of see what it's going for, but I'm still going to keep my other release. So I think if you've got one of these steel books, or if you really like the cover of the slip-covered Blu-ray, I think it's probably an upgrade for you then, because this does look really good. If you really enjoy this movie a lot, then I highly recommend you pick it up, because I think you're going to be astounded by how much uptick in quality there actually is and more of the detail that is shown through. I believe it does have Dolby Vision, if I'm not mistaken. It does. So the HDR here does add a lot to some scenes, especially those darker scenes, especially when you've got the heads kind of popping out of the ground and they're using that device to kind of hypnotize them so they don't feel any pain, as Father Vincent said, Farmer Vincent's father. I'm tired to talk about like a Catholicism thing here. No, Farmer Vincent says. But let's talk about the movie for a little bit, because I love this movie a lot, and rewatching this, it is so good. The story here is pretty fun, and I think it's just so ridiculous that this girl gets kind of wrapped up because this farmer's setting traps so he can basically smoke human beings into making his meat, and it's something that his Nana taught him over this 30-year period. And it's kind of this racket for me and my initial fear of like backwoods things that could happen, and this is one of those, so it's traumatizing to me. I really don't want to be left out in the middle of nowhere, get taken and turned into meat. That is really what I don't want to feed a town of like cannibal people who are, unbeknownst to them, are cannibal people. That's my biggest fear, you know? And so I really like this movie as it kind of plays on that for me personally. I'm not technically afraid of it, but if I was in that scenario in the middle of like, I don't know, we're not gonna say a place because I don't want to offend anybody if you live those places. Obviously I live in the South, so I'm not gonna say anything. But if you live in one of those places that's scary and podunk, then I'd be afraid to come there and visit if I was in isolation in the middle of nowhere. It's like the hills have eyes situation going on. But overall, I really like this. I like that it's a comedic take on that. And it is horror for the most part, but I do genuinely think there is a bit of like Stockholm Syndrome, where when the girl comes, she starts to really fall in love with the old man. But then again, he's really not there for that. He's like, no, I just want to smoke human beings. That is my pure existence. I live with my sister, so you can kind of tell how my life's going right now. Anyway, she eventually tries to kill this woman because she feels threatened by her, and she wants to know the secrets to smoking, and she hasn't yet got them, but now he's wanting to pass them on to the hot lady. And so all unravels at the end of this movie when you find out that he's like plugging people in the ground, ripping their vocal cords out, which is a nice touch because you don't want people to hear them scream, and then they feed them. It's a great system he's got going on. This has clearly been going on for decades, as he does say. So it's a fun movie. It's a really fun movie. I like the concept of the movie. It's fun. I also like how they incorporate the name of the movie into the end of the movie. So there's a lot going on here that I really like. I think Farmer Vincent with the pig head is very iconic with his chainsaw. So there's a lot in here to love. There's a lot that I had forgotten. It's probably been 5 or 6 years since I'd actually seen this movie. So it was nice to kind of revisit it, especially in a nice high quality version. Again, I really like this movie. Let me know down below. Did you pick up this 4K? I think you should if you've been missing out. I don't know if that sale's still going on, so I can't guarantee that. It was, you know, a while ago, depending on when this video actually comes out. Look for it. If it's on sale, again, I highly recommend you pick it up. If you don't own it, then I think it's a must buy to your collection because it is a great classic movie, and I think you might enjoy it if you are blind buying it. So that's pretty much all I've got. Thanks for stopping by. Again, let me know down below, did you pick this up? What do you think of Motel Hell? Where does it stack in your hierarchy of horror movies? I'm gonna link some videos for you at the end. I'll link all my 4K reviews in its playlist, and so you can check out all those, kind of dive back through all the ones that I have done over the past month and prior. We've done a lot on the channel. We've got a lot coming up on the channel as well, so look forward to that. If you like what we do here, consider becoming part of the collective, and I will talk to you guys in my next 4K review.